Imagine a Rolls-Royce from the 1920s that looks like it came straight out of a futuristic movie. Round doors, a double sunroof, bold aerodynamic lines, and a presence worthy of a sculpture on wheels. This is not just a car, it's the phantom Henri Jonckheere Coupe, one of the rarest and most mysterious automobiles on the planet. Today, we'll explore the history, technique, and secrets behind this unique icon. In the early 1920s, Rolls-Royce faced a dilemma. Its most famous model, the Silver Ghost, released back in 1907, had become a legend for its silence, robustness, and reliability. But nearly 2 decades later, the automotive world was no longer the same. Brands like Hispano-Suiza, Isotta Fraschini, and even the emerging Bentley were launching more modern automobiles, with powerful engines, sophisticated technologies, and distinctive styles. To continue being the best car in the world, Rolls needed to evolve. It was in this context that the new Phantom was born, which would later be known as the Phantom One. The goal was clear: to update the engineering without sacrificing its tradition of absolute refinement. The highlight was the new 6-cylinder inline engine with 7.7 liters, now equipped with overhead valves, something considered bold for the brand, which had always opted for reliability over mechanical daring. This engine provided more power, but maintained the smoothness and silence, preserving the DNA that had made Rolls-Royce a global reference.
But the development of the Phantom wasn't just a matter of mechanics. Rolls-Royce knew that the customers who bought their cars didn't just want luxury, they wanted exclusivity. For this reason, the factory only offered the car as a chassis and engine. The customer would then order a custom body from a prestigious coach builder, such as Barker, Hooper, Mulliner, or Park Ward. Each Phantom was unique, made according to the taste and personality of the owner. This made every unit a work of art, as well as a symbol of social status. The target audience couldn't have been more select: European aristocrats, industrial magnates, kings, princes, and great bankers. The Phantom One wasn't a car for those who just wanted transportation. It was for those who wanted to assert power, wealth, and good taste. It was, in essence, an extension of personal prestige. And here enters the particular story of the Jonckheere Coupe. The car was born in 1925 as a conventional Phantom One, equipped with a Hooper cabriolet body. But a few years later, it went to the Jonckheere workshop in Belgium, which dared to create something completely outside the norms. Instead of the typical Rolls-Royce sobriety, the car received an aerodynamic and visionary body, with curved lines, round doors, crescent-shaped windows, and a rear fin. For the time, this was almost a futuristic delirium, a Rolls-Royce that looked like it had come out of a science fiction drawing. The designers at Jonckheere weren't just aiming for luxury. They wanted to challenge traditional aesthetics and propose a new way of thinking about luxury automobiles. Not just a quiet, majestic car, but a bold design piece that conveyed speed and modernity, even when standing still. The challenges were immense. It was necessary to adapt the heavy Phantom One chassis, designed for traditional bodies, to an entirely new aerodynamic design. It was also important to maintain Rolls-Royce's sophistication, even with such an unconventional body. The result, however, was breathtaking. Thus, the Jonckheere Coupe became more than just a special Phantom One. It became a manifesto of creativity at a time when the bodywork was still a blank canvas for designers and craftsmen. A bold, provocative Rolls-Royce, but still faithful to the philosophy of being one of the most refined and exclusive cars on the planet. The Phantom One was proof that Rolls-Royce knew how to innovate without losing its essence. Its heart was a 6-cylinder inline engine, divided into 2 blocks of 3 cylinders each, totaling an impressive 7,668 cubic centimeters of displacement. This engine represented a clear evolution from the Silver Ghost. It now featured overhead valves, a more modern and efficient solution that allowed for greater power and better combustion efficiency. The official power output was never disclosed by Rolls-Royce.
The brand had the tradition of stating that their engines delivered sufficient power. But independent documents from the time indicate something around 108 horsepower at just 2,300 RPM. It may seem modest by today's standards, but let's remember this was a 1925 machine designed to provide abundant torque and run smoothly, in any gear, almost effortlessly. The transmission varied depending on the production location. Models made in Derby, UK had a 4-speed manual gearbox, while those made in Springfield, USA came with a 3-speed manual transmission. This difference reflected the brand's adaptation to the expectations of the two markets, more technical refinement in Europe and greater simplicity and robustness for American customers. The Phantom 1 chassis was an evolution of the Silver Ghost, robust and capable of supporting heavy bodies. It weighed about 1,800 kilograms just in its rolling chassis state, meaning before it received the bodywork, upholstery, and accessories. This explains why each bodywork required individual adjustments. The front suspension used semi-elliptical springs, while the rear featured a cantilever system, designed to better absorb the weight of the large luxury bodies. Another notable advancement was the four-wheel brakes, with mechanical assistance based on a Hispano-Suiza patent. This placed the Phantom 1 at the forefront, as many luxury cars of the time still used rear axle brakes only. This innovation was essential to stop a 2-ton vehicle safely.
In terms of performance, the top speed varied depending on the bodywork type. In standard versions, it could reach around 130 kilometers per hour, a respectable figure for the time. However, the Jonckheere Coupe, thanks to its unusual aerodynamic design, would have reached speeds close to 160 kilometers per hour, almost unbelievable for such a large car. But the Phantom I wasn't a single model, it had variations. The short wheelbase measured just over 3.64 meters, while the long wheelbase version reached 3.82 meters, offering even more interior space. This allowed for majestic bodywork, such as 7-seat limousines, luxury coupes, or ceremonial sedans. And since each customer hired a different coach builder, no two Phantom I models were the same. In total, between 1925 and 1931, about 3,512 units of the Phantom I were produced, with 2,269 in Derby and 1,243 in Springfield. This number, while relatively small, already demonstrates the exclusivity of the model. And within this universe, the Jonckheere Coupe is a solitary piece, a true one-off, with no parallels. As for the reception, the Phantom I was welcomed by the press and the public as a car worthy of its heritage. The smoothness of the engine, the quiet ride, and the quality of construction impressed. It was called a worthy successor to the Silver Ghost, and some even said it was the new best car in the world.
But there were criticisms. Fuel consumption was high, something inevitable for an almost 8-liter engine. The heavy weight also limited agility on narrow or less prepared roads. And maintenance required specialized mechanics, as any mistake could compromise the sophistication of the assembly. Still, for the elite, these points weren't deterrents. The Phantom I offered exactly what was expected: luxury, exclusivity, reliability, and unlimited customization. In the case of the Jonckheere Coupe, the reception was one of pure astonishment. A futuristic Rolls-Royce with round doors and bold aerodynamics. For some, it was visionary genius. For others, extravagant eccentricity. But undoubtedly, there was no ignoring it. The Phantom I solidified its position as a milestone in Rolls-Royce's history, and the Jonckheere Coupe became the rare gem within this legacy. A car that transcended the concept of an automobile and came closer to a work of art on wheels. The Rolls-Royce Phantom I Jonckheere Coupe is undoubtedly one of the most fascinating automobiles in history, not only for its refined mechanics, but especially for what it represents in terms of design, boldness, and survival. If the Phantom I was already in itself an icon of British engineering, the Jonckheere Coupe elevated this legacy to a nearly mythical level. Today, this car is considered a true automotive masterpiece. Its design with round doors, curved lines, and a rear fin has no parallel with any other Rolls-Royce of the era. It was a unique artistic interpretation that transformed a traditional chassis into a sculpture on wheels. Many experts claim that the Jonckheere Coupe anticipated aerodynamic trends that wouldn't be explored until years later in the streamliners of the 1930s. It not only followed the evolution of design, but seemed to predict the future. What's most impressive is that this particular example almost disappeared. For part of its life, the Jonckheere Coupe was forgotten and eventually abandoned in New Jersey, USA. Imagine an invaluable Rolls-Royce left to the mercy of time, deteriorating like scrap. Few cars carry such a dramatic story of fall and rebirth. It was only thanks to visionary collectors that it was rescued, restored, and returned to its original splendor. In one of its more eccentric phases, under the ownership of Max Opie, the car was displayed as a show attraction. It even received gold dust coatings on some details, transforming into a true traveling theater where people paid admission just to see the machine. This shows how the Jonckheere was always more than just an automobile. It was an experience, a cultural attraction. Today, the Jonckheere Coupe is part of the Peterson Automotive Museum collection in Los Angeles, where it continues to attract crowds of enthusiasts and curious visitors. It is considered one of the museum's greatest stars, and its presence at Elegance Concours is always an event. Among collectors and scholars, there's no doubt, this is one of the most valuable and emblematic Rolls-Royce cars in the world. In today's market, putting an exact price on this rarity is almost impossible. It is a one-of-a-kind piece with no direct comparisons. Conservative estimates place it at over $10 million, but in an elite auction with billionaire collectors competing, this figure could easily be surpassed. What's being bought isn't just a car, but a piece of design history and global automotive culture. For those who dream of owning a Phantom One, there are conventional examples surviving in private collections, enthusiast clubs, and museums. Their values vary greatly depending on the bodywork and condition, ranging from a few $100,000 to over $1 million. But the Jonckheere Coupe is unattainable. It belongs to the automotive heritage of humanity. Among the curiosities, it's worth noting that the car earned the nickname Round Door Rolls precisely because of its round doors. It is also remembered for inspiring contemporary designers like Uğur Şahin, who presented a modern project based on its iconic lines. Few cars from the past have such a direct influence on current creations. The legacy of the Jonckheere Coupe goes beyond collecting. It symbolizes a time when the automotive was still a blank canvas for the imagination, when engineers, craftsmen, and artists came together to create not just transportation, but mobile works of art. It also represents the spirit of survival, a car that was on the brink of extinction but was reborn as an eternal icon. Today, when looking at it in a museum or historical photos, we get the sense that we're in front of something that transcends time. It's not just a Rolls-Royce, nor just a Phantom I. It's the rare intersection of tradition and boldness, heritage and future. A car that shows how the automotive industry can be, at the same time, art, luxury, innovation, and emotion. For all of this, the Phantom I Jonckheere Coupe is seen as a living legend, perhaps the most exotic Rolls-Royce ever built. And above all, a reminder that when ingenuity and creativity meet, machines are born that will never be forgotten. Now tell me, after learning about this true masterpiece on wheels, were you also impressed by the boldness of the Rolls-Royce Phantom I Jonckheere Coupe? This unique car shows how the history of the automotive can be surprising, full of twists and creativity.
And I really want to hear your opinion. What did you think of this icon? Leave your comment below telling me if this is, in your view, the most incredible Rolls-Royce of all time. And also take the opportunity to suggest, which legendary car would you like to see explored in a future video? If you enjoyed this journey through time, leave your like, because it really helps the channel keep bringing exclusive stories from the world of classics.
Also, share this video with that friend who loves rare and historical cars. And of course, subscribe to the channel and activate notifications so you don't miss any of the upcoming stories. There are many more rarities and secrets from the world of classic cars coming, and you won't want to miss them.